The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
The 4 best controversies coming up next for the Vancouver Canucks. What are we doing? Okay, last week we're eating our vegetables, and this week we're eating dinner cooked by the devil. Are you serious?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, brought to you by Roller Coasters. It's Locked On Canucks, baby. I'm Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks Raider currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. You know why? Because it is your Canucks every damn day. Part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world. And for our show, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go like, subscribe, and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, got to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the Olympics wind down. There's less sports on, but FanDuel still has you covered all summer long with the Boost or Bonus Daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. What is sports? What is entertainment without a little controversy? And you know that even in the best of times for your Vancouver Canucks, there's always a controversy brewing. And hey, there were controversies last year too as well. Let's get into what we see as the potential controversies for your Vancouver Canucks next season. Again, as Kyle alluded to, we've gone from loving life, loving vegetables to being dark. But let's have some fun with it. Before we dive into everything controversial regarding your Vancouver Canucks, let me introduce my co-host, Kyle Bowen. Happy Friday, brother. How you doing?
Did you just call me dark? Did you just call me a dark Vindu? Is that what you just did there, Vanilla Ice? Okay. Anyways, Bob Bluger calling you Vanilla Ice, I think. Ice, baby. Trevor Baggs with the fresh cut. Kyle Bowen with the fresh cut. This may be the freshest week of our lives. Like, look at what we did last week. We went on a spiritual journey, and then we both happened to get haircuts this week. Do the math. We brand new. No days off. Kyle Bowen, Trevor Beck. Speaking of which, this is the week where we're supposed to what? Do three episodes this week. We did 5. We love the people, man. We love the people, and we love the Canucks. On that note, though, controversial takes. Why do we got to do this? Why do we have to put 2 people against each other? Why do we have to talk about Silovs and Demko some more? Why do we got to talk about Daniel Sprung and Hoagland? Why are we doing this? Shouldn't we just, I don't know, just wait till November 15th when some of these things are evident? Like, are we going down a dark path? Is this anti-Vincent Desharnais? Straight up, if you listen to his interview with Jason Gregor, a very spiritual Deepak Chopra type of guy, why are we doing this today, Trevor?
I mean, for me, it's I love this, man. This is right up my alley. I think no, it's sports, man. It's entertainment. You know, we're not here to just be airy fairy. You know, everything's great all the time. Like, no, man, you gotta have some debates. You gotta have some debates, okay? And you know, you even look at last season. Like, what was the big debate heading into training camp? It was who's gonna play with Quinn Hughes, right? Mm-hmm. And I, you know, spoiler alert, I think that might be a controversy heading into the next season as well. But you know, again, let's it's good to have debates, good to have some controversy, and let's talk about the goaltending, right, Kyle? Because you brought it up. I know you wanted to talk about that goaltending and whether you do see a controversy brewing between Demko and Silovs. And correct me if I'm mistaken, but I don't know if you see this over the next year, but maybe over the next couple years throughout the length of those contracts.
Well, man, oh man, if you do want to hear more on our defense controversies going into next season, me and Trevor dropped 2 episodes yesterday, okay? We did individual episodes, boom, bam. We talked about all that, okay? But now switching over to the goaltending, here's my most controversial angle with everything revolving around Silovs and Demko. And I'm not going to go down the injury route, okay? I'm not going to say, oh, what if Demko gets hurt? Dude, I'm not going to put that out there, okay? I'm not Trevor Beggs. Straight up. But yo, what if it is a 30-50 split, right? Demko gets 50, which has to be the case. This guy works way too hard. He's too out there all the time. He needs to rest up a little bit, sit down a bit more, okay? Rest up for the playoffs. That being said, what if it's like late March and early April, and for whatever reason, because it happens in the world of hockey, Demko's like struggling a bit and Silovs isn't? And what if after round 1, game 1, when the Canucks host a playoff game, Demko, you know, I don't know, doesn't have like they lose. They lose 4-2, and Demko allows 4 goals on 21 shots because life happens, things happen. Like, how quickly would this team move on to playing Silovs, like considering what he did last year? Like, I feel as if that's a 10% chance of happening.
Yeah, I think 10% is probably the right percentage there. But like you said, I mean, any mediocre games from Demko are going to be magnified in the playoffs, right? And it's funny, right? We go Demko again, drafted by this team now over 10 years ago, and he's played 3 playoff games. I think he started 3 playoff games and played in 4 playoff games, if I'm not mistaken. We just haven't seen Demko play playoff hockey in this market, but the dude does have a 974 save percentage.
Ooh.
What? In his career in the playoffs in Vancouver. So, look, I see this as probably a non-controversy, to be honest. I think there's other potential ones on the Canucks to me that seem more likely and more intriguing, but I just don't see a downturn from Demko. Like you said, the darkest guy in the program, Trevor Beggs. If injury hits Demko, and that's the most likely scenario because he just hasn't stayed healthy. To me, that's more likely, but I have a hard time seeing Demko struggle behind this defense, behind this team.
Behind this defense, behind Vincent Desharnais playing 20 minutes a game in the playoffs. Bro, I'm just saying, like, you brought it up, right? You brought it up how the noise would escalate if a scenario like this would take place, considering the fact that Silovs was pretty good in the playoffs. He was poised. He's, like, ready for the challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's that guy. So I feel like he's not Casey DeSmith. He's not Casey DeSmith, even though Casey DeSmith was, 1-1 in the playoffs, and in his last playoff start played really, really, really good. Man, Ian Clark, man, was this guy the goaltender for the Oilers in the 80s when they're winning all the Stanley Cup, or like the Islanders in the 70s? Like, who is Ian Clark, man? Who is this guy? Anyways, I don't. Again, it's a 10% chance that I see something like this happening, but you know what? At the end of the day, if it does, I'm not going to be mad. And to be honest, controversy may be too strong of a word. Maybe the better word is just lucky, fortunate that they have an option like this, right? Straight up. Let's say Silovs in 30 starts. Let's say this is the Swayman and Olmark, right? Real talk. And let's say Silovs plays 30 games and he's like 22, 7-1. You know what I'm saying? 910 save percentage, 907, 910, whatever the average, the superstar average is nowadays, because I know goaltending is so different. If that's the case, and again, Demko struggles early in a playoff series, if they have to go up to Silovs, man, we are so blessed. So blessed. And honestly speaking, like some of this noise that, let's say Demko watches his episode, like some of this noise will motivate a guy like Thatcher Demko to make sure something like this doesn't happen. That being said, as Rutherford alluded to a couple weeks ago, less is more. You know, what's that quote, Trevor? More is not more. Better is more.
Damn, that's all that Deepak Chopra you've been reading, buddy.
Yeah.
Look, I think in terms of the goaltending, it's, to me, arguably the most steady position on your Vancouver Canucks right now, which is saying something because it's traditionally the least steady position in the NHL. But I think you got 2 guys in Demko and Silovs who can handle the load. And I just, for Demko, if he's healthy, I just don't see him having a bad season. I have a really, really tough time seeing
Me
that.
too.
Just based on what he's done throughout his career. And again, I really hope next season he gets a shot in the playoffs. And I think he's going to get a shot in the playoffs, and he's going to, let's say triple or quadruple his game started total for your Vancouver Canucks by the time we hit May and June next year.
It's ironic. It's ironic, right? It's like a 50-30 split, right? 82 games. Demko gets like 53. Silovs gets 29, whatever the number is. But best case scenario is we don't see Silovs once in the playoffs. And that's the irony in the situation, because Demko is so good. So poised. And, to bring up the point that I made, like, let's say he does struggle in late March or early April, right before the playoffs start. You know what that may tell me too, is that he's in line to go on a run. And if you have a goalie that's in line to go on a run in the Stanley Cup playoffs, where like he's going to be good for 2 months, like really, really good, or play to the best of his abilities, man, oh man, Demko playing to his best of his abilities, that's a Conn Smythe nominee right there. And if he happens to be playing behind Hughes, JT Miller, and Elias Pettersson, and etc., like, the Canucks are going to be Stanley Cup favorites.
I think there's a good chance they already are Stanley Cup favorites.
Ooh.
Let's go, man. Yeah, that's something
Rub
we
your
also want to talk
nipples.
about.
Rub your nipples. The Canucks are Stanley Cup champions. Why do people do
Wow.
that in the 80s and
Unbelievable,
70s?
man.
Just rubbing their nipples, man.
Why was that just an 80s and 70s thing? I thought that was a 2024 thing.
Because
Anyways, man.
you can get canceled for that now, okay, Trevor?
I see.
Straight up, man.
Well, you learn something new every day. Let's learn something new on the other side, and I'll tell you what my biggest potential controversy is for the Vancouver Canucks next season. I think this is a realistic one, and I'm going to tell you what that is on the other side. And we'll get to a couple other things that are on our mind in terms of upcoming controversies next season. Before we do that, we got to shout out our friends over at eBay Motors. You know the deal. It's passion. It's driving. It's patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered, baby. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with that eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die live at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Elsewhere, only students white.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks, Kyle Bow and Trevor Beggs at the Don't Those Art Lab. Man, oh man, the place that is literally building a lot of that West Coast bias. If you're watching this on YouTube or, on the podcast side of things, hit the like button, subscribe to the show. It really does help us out a lot. And again, if you're on that podcast side of things, leave us a 5-star review. Christmas is in like 46 days. I'm going to Mexico in less than 2 weeks. Do the math. Bro, I got to get my girlfriend something nice, man. And every like goes a long way, for real. Anyways, speaking of liking things, Trevor Beggs, loving controversy, man. You know what? That's a toxic trait. I'm not going to lie. The truth comes out in mysterious ways. I know you're getting ready for like a lake house vacation right now too. Bro, maybe you're feeling loose and free and the truth is coming out. Bro, the fact that you can openly say that you love trauma and drama, like your trauma Beggs, is dangerous. It's toxic. And I think you need to go to therapy, man.
I think what my big problem is I have an ego, and I like to make predictions and see if they come right. And often they don't come right, okay? And in terms of some of the controversies I'm predicting, let's hope that they don't come right, and that my toxicity doesn't spread to you and you and you. But to me, I think one of the biggest issues heading into next season right now is the Canucks defense. And, I could see a scenario where maybe we start to question the roster building decisions, the coaching behind this defense. Because, last season, so many things went right in terms of health, in terms of, aside from Carson Soucy, but in terms of health, in terms of performance, like everyone almost overachieved according to expectations. Now going into this season with arguably a weaker defense on paper, and maybe this team doesn't quite have the same defensive impact.
True.
Are we trying to question the decisions by Alvin to, not re-sign Zadorov or, get another solid top 4 defenseman in free agency? What if Soucy isn't ready for that top 3 or number 3 defenseman role? What if Myers isn't top 4 caliber? What if Forbort and Desharnais are replacement level? To me, this is the biggest disaster scenario for the Vancouver Canucks. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, I think, the potential controversy is us for the first time really in this market questioning Patrick Allvin and his decisions in terms of building this defense.
Yeah, man. And to nitpick one of the defensemen that you just pointed out there, the what if scenario around Soucy being a top 3 defenseman. What if Soucy gets hurt again? Straight up. He got hurt for significant time twice last season. And when he got hurt the first time, Patrick Allvin was on the phone ASAP and he flew Zadorov down.
Yeah. So
again, bringing it back to the actual hockey side of things and not being emotional, how convinced are you that Tocchet, Foote, Gonchar, and company can still not only implement the structure that helped them out so much, pretty much made the Canucks into a boring playoff-ready team, whatever that means, right? Straight up in the second half of the season, it was that type of style of play. It was their defense being able to be efficient, get the puck out, do their thing. Like how how confident are you in that still being the case when Myers is your number 4? You're going to see a lot more of Vincent Desharnais. I call him Willie. Man, oh man, Vincent Desharnais, like
Wow,
Forbert, Juleson. You know what I'm saying? Like you're scaring me now. This is why I don't like talking to you about these things, bro. It's a sunny day. Can we talk about this in like September 27th? Unreal, dude. Because structure is such an important part, right? And the puzzles, and like, there's a lot of changes here, and things just got good. But you took away a big piece. You took away Zadorov, and bro, like, is Ian Cole better than Vincent Desharnais? I think so. Even though he played like ass in that second round, I still think he's a better defenseman. I really do. I really do. He's better than Forbert too. When Ian Cole is at his best, he's better than those two guys. And Zadorov and him are gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, with Ian Cole, right? You're kind of signed to be that bottom pairing guy, but he was the Canucks' number 3 defenseman for the first chunk of last season when they were winning quite a few hockey games, right? So, I mean, if Ian Cole can step up into that role, like, I have full faith that Carson Soucy can do it. But we also haven't seen Carson Soucy do it yet. So, can Carson Soucy be a number 3 defenseman? I mean, honestly, it's a big jump for the guy compared to what he's done in the past and, the role he was in last season. So, I think there's a couple of emotions at play with this Canucks defense. I mean, you got 2 of the best defensemen in the NHL on your blue line. I mean, that is a huge, huge plus, a huge win, arguably the best pairing in the NHL. But the depth just isn't there, and there's a whole lot of question marks after, Hughes and Hronek. And that being said, I mean, look, I have faith in Hronek to bounce back, but he also had a pretty terrible second half of the season as well. Like, is that a scenario that fans are worried about? So, I mean, this defense, I mean, it could be, in my opinion, the first time maybe that we begin to question Patrick Allvin. I will say this, though. I think he has the bullets in his gun to pull a move and go right on the defense, right? You mentioned like an injury to Soucy. It's like all of a sudden Forbert's your second pairing defenseman, and who's underneath him? It's like Mark Freeman, and I talked about it yesterday, Guillaume Brisebois and Christian Wolanin, right? Like, you're talking about AHL depth and replacement level players after Quinn Hughes if Soucy gets injured. But I do think Patrick Allvin, he's got some picks, he's got some wingers, he's got some trade chips there as well.
Yeah, dude. Again, 3 of your 7 defensemen, like, it still surprises me to see Allvin and Rutherford potentially go into a training camp where 3 of their 7 defensemen are Forbert, Desharnais, and Juleson. Like, the whole PK specialist thing, it's like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's that just seems like an odd number, and I'm curious to see if let's say Forbert struggles in preseason or whatever. Like, I'm curious to see if he gets waived. Again, there was a number of Boston Bruins fans who were happy with this decision. There was also this one like reporter TikTok type of dude who was just literally dancing during work when he found out the Canucks signed Forbert and not the Boston Bruins. Anyways, yeah, the defense, the D. Again, I've been having situations with the D for almost 31 years of my life, right? Like, maneuvering through an awkward D, like not a strong D, you know what I'm saying? And I think I've done pretty well, but I'm not playing in the NHL. My stick is a little different, okay?
It's true, buddy. Your elongated tic-tac there. Look, let's talk about one other controversy, and I think it to me, it relates back to Patrick Allvin as well, right? And potentially questioning decisions if things don't go the Canucks' way. And I think a player that's going to be under the microscope a lot is Jake DeBrusk, right? He signs that big deal, 7 years, $5.5 million per season. The fantasy stat boys love him. And we talked about it early in July. Boston Bruins fans are extremely split on this guy because, again, he's got flashes of brilliance. He's got a good baseline in terms of his defensive game, but he's been wildly inconsistent throughout his NHL career. Now, Kyle, do you think there's a point that we hit where, let's say we're a couple months into the season and DeBrusk and Petey just starting clicking? Maybe DeBrusk is seeing his minutes chopped back. He's not on PP1. Are fans starting to get a little bit impatient with Jake DeBrusk and Patrick Allvin if he has a slow start to the season?
Oh, dude, of course, man. Of course, because it shouldn't be this way, but not only is this guy tasked to being a really good two-way player and to continue his affection with the fancy stats and whatnot for 7 years, he's also tasked with I don't know, hauling down a UFO and bringing him back to Vancouver. Okay, for real. He's like, we have never even caught a UFO yet. No, we actually have. Okay, the world has. Okay, anyways, debrusk has to do that, and he has to bring Elias Pettersson back to Vancouver, and I feel as if that's so unfair. It should be the other way around, somehow, some way. Like, debrusk should look good on this deal and should look like a prize signing for Alvin because Pettersson prompts him up. You know what I'm saying? Or props him up. It should be like that. And let's say that's not the case and they do struggle early on. I'm really curious to see who gets some of that blame. Like, it would be it would be a controversial thing. But here's the thing about like debrusk though, and the guy like Forbert as well, and the guy like Vincent Desharnais, like these guys that they brought in, right? I feel as if they were just all coached well, and they were in some really strong, focused organizations, and now they're on this team with Rick Tocchet in charge of a coaching staff with Adam Foote and Gonchar. So I feel as if the transition is going to be very efficient, and we're not going to see that early struggle. Again, I don't know if the Canucks are going to be as hot as they were last season, October, November, but I feel as if things will gel quickly and we will avoid drama like this.
I like your positivity, buddy, especially as I'm throwing
I just think so.
fuel to the fire here.
No, dude, like, look, again, Trevor, I agree with a lot of the, again, like, you're so effing dramatic, man. Like, chill out, bro. I know you haven't seen your kids in like a couple weeks, bro. Just chill out, bro. Like, love is beautiful, okay? But I get your logic. Right? It's like a lot of new people. Like, the Canucks just got good, and Tocchet loves puzzles, and they just got good. And if you really look at this, the Canucks got like what, 7 or 8 new players on their team. It feels like that. I don't even know if I'm lying about that. Like, what's the number? It's like 4, 6, 7 players that could play prominent roles on a team and an organization that, again, just learned how to win. It may not fit. But am I onto something when I say there was a note to be made within that management room that if they were going to bring players in and at that amount, that they had to come from good organizations?
Yeah, I think that's certainly part of it, right? And I think if you have a well-coached player, I think that's more likely to be more of a seamless fit on this team. And I think again the defense is going to be first and foremost for me in that regard, right? Like how will Forbort and Desharnais perform under Adam Foote and Rick Tocchet? I think that's a big key for the Canucks season, and Carson Soucy in his elevated role as well. But again, there's a lot of, even though we're asking questions right now and talking about things that may happen, I mean, I think you and I are still both very positive with this Vancouver Canucks team. I still think this is heading into the NHL season a top 5 team in the NHL. And let's not forget that notion as we talk about, again, potential controversies for your Vancouver Canucks last season. Kyle, I want to touch on one other potential controversy on the other side to wrap up the show. Maybe we'll go through a couple of the rapid fire questions about your Vancouver Canucks, and maybe we'll bust a move, man, because it's Friday. I'm hopping on an airplane tonight, and life is good, buddy. Life is also good because we got sponsors on the show. We got you listening. Again, you're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. Let's shout out our friends over at FanDuel before we wrap up on the other side here on Locked On Canucks. All right. It's summertime. There's not as many sports on. The Olympics still going on. But no matter what you're doing, FanDuel has you covered, okay? And they are hooking up customers with a boost or a bonus daily all summer long. That's right. There's something for everyone every day throughout this hot, steamy summer. Let's go. On FanDuel right now, you can place bets on Olympics or, of course, the Canadian Football League, baby, because I know I'm one of the only fans of the Canadian Football League under the age of 35 right now, but I'm proud of it, baby. My BC Lions on a cold streak. Now they're underdogs. They're underdogs to the Edmonton Elks this Saturday. Unbelievable stuff. But hey, if you want to bet 4 against my Lions or whatever you want to bet on, make sure you go place those bets on FanDuel. Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer.
Boom, bam. Shout out to FanDuel. Welcome back to this conversation about your Vancouver Canucks. My name is Kyle Bound, and that right there is Trevor Beggs. Why am I talking like this? Because maybe I've been watching some CNN. I don't know, I'm 31 and a half years old. Apparently, as a Canadian, American politics matter. Don't listen to me, okay? That was just BS. I was talking like an American because I'm half American. What? What? Sort of, kind of, not really, okay? If the Vancouver Canucks do end up winning a Stanley Cup with this core and all these Americans, I will again get an American citizenship because I'm loyal. I'm loyal. Anyways, Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bound, again at the Don't Doze Art Lab. Man, oh man, a lot of comments that I want to get into. Trevor Beggs has another controversial take that he wants to give out, but before he does that, I want to give the floor to Infamous, okay? For real. Okay, because I feel as if this is somewhat controversial, okay? Look at this, okay? Infamous saying, wasn't our record worse after getting Big Z and Lindholm, right? Yeah, he was talking about how the Canucks started out 15-8-1, and then they got Zadorov. He also leaves this comment saying we started off so hot last season. Here's my controversial take from that prompt or that type of inspiration that Infamous just gave me. The Canucks aren't going to be as hot as they were last year in October and November and December. And if that's the case, the fan base needs to understand that it's okay. It's actually okay. Real talk. That being said, can the Canucks handle that? Like not having that head start, having to be, top notch the whole way through, because there were some struggles in like February and March.
Well, and I think fans forget about it, but November as well wasn't a great month for the Canucks, right? They started off really hot in October and then kind of went win-loss through all of November. PD has a bit of a slow stretch. We're starting to question PD a bit more. And then December, January, they heat up. And then February, March, April, they end the season not so strong. So if you want to break down the Canucks season, like to me, it was like 3 months where they were the best team in the NHL, and then 3 months where they were kind of middle of the pack, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, when you play like one of the best teams in the NHL for half the season, you end up as one of the best teams in the NHL.
Yeah,
which the Canucks managed to do. A hot start last season was the big story last summer, right? It's like they'd had 3 straight years of limping out of the gates and basically ruining their season before you hit Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, that is. So, yeah, a hot start would be pretty crucial, I think, to this Canucks team once again, especially when you're just in a hockey hotbed like Vancouver.
But it can't. I feel as if it is actually impossible for the hot start to replicate what happened last year, because I feel as if by the time the middle of November hit or American Thanksgiving hit, the Canucks had like 5 players in the top. I want to say 10 in scoring.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think it was top 10. I think it was like top 20, top 25, right? But Miller, Boeser, Pettersson, Hughes, and Hronek were all there.
They all had 25. I think they were one of the first teams in NHL history to have that many players with 25 points at whatever point in the season. Yeah. It was some point in the middle of November after that Islanders Canucks game, okay, for real, where Quinn Hughes scored the overtime winner in front of Boo Horvat, okay? That was a pretty great moment. And all in all, I'm going to be patient the whole way through. I hope you hold me accountable because I get emotional, but just hold me accountable. Let me be patient. Straight up, like the season's going to be different because every season is different, but let's just be patient. Okay. Let's burn some buildings down in late March if things don't, metaphorically speaking. Okay. Metaphorically. Okay. This is what happens. Okay. You bring up the trauma and the drama and I get dark. Trevor Beggs, what's your last controversial take, man?
So I want to put it this way quickly about controversial takes. So, I'm wondering like who was the most controversial player on the Canucks last season? Like who stirred up the fan base the most? And I think, Hronek was definitely a runner up, right? With his really shoddy second half of the season, but it had to be Elias Pettersson, right? With the struggles late in the later half of the year, even in November when he goes in a bit of a cold stretch, we're starting to question this guy. People pretty silent in January when he has 13 goals in 14 games, but heading into next season, Kyle, I want your prediction on which Canuck player is going to be the most controversial. I think you can take that definition a couple of ways, but curious on your take on that.
Damn. Okay, I'm not gonna throw Pettersson under the bus. I think he's gonna pick it up here, and he's gonna from all accounts, aka a 10-minute little spiel from Irfan. Is that how you say his name? From Rink Wide. Like apparently Pettersson's doing great. He's doing great. He's healthy. He's strong. He's working, doing his thing. There's rumors of the Sedins, right? This is not from Irfan, but this is like from Rutherford now. Like the Sedins may be working out with him and Talkett may be doing something with him in Sweden, blah, blah, blah. I feel as if we're going to get a brand new alien, okay? Straight up. EB40's coming back. Here's my answer to your question, though. I was going to say Quinn Hughes off the top because I feel as if the bar is so high that we may not be ready for this guy to, I don't know, take his foot off the pedal during the regular season, a la a bit Matthew Tkachuk last year, because look at his point totals. They dropped a lot. And he just won a Stanley Cup, okay? But I'm going to say Philip Hronek, man, because he has that attitude about him. He has that, I'm not going to speak to the media. I'm going to ream out Jeff Patterson. I'm going to sign this big deal because I deserve it, right? He signed for 8 years, right? That's correct, 8 years. And then you see what happened in the second half of the season. Like, dude, if anything, I feel as if this guy has the most pressure on him, especially, and that's in two ways, right? If he plays with Quinn Hughes or if he doesn't play with Quinn Hughes. Philip Hronek seems to be that guy where I don't want to say controversy is going to follow him, but the pressure definitely is. And I'm curious to see if he can handle it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good pick, Kyle. And to me, if you're looking at the Canucks who have the most pressure on them heading into next season, I think the top three is Hronek, DeBrusk, and Pettersson. And I don't think it's super close for the rest of the team. You know, Pettersson obviously I think has the most heat on him. If he has a slow start, I think he's going to be the most controversial player. But I actually think it's going to be Jake DeBrusk, for the reasons I alluded to. I think Jake DeBrusk is probably going to have a career year just because he's only had, I think, 50 points as his career high, 27 goals, right? But I could see him having a slow start because, again, he's been pretty inconsistent throughout his NHL career. And I could just see early on in the season, if the guy's not scoring goals, fans starting to, again, question Alvin, question the decision, question the signing. Look, I do believe Jake DeBrusk is, probably going to be have one of the best seasons of his career in this market, but I could see him starting slow and that causing some controversy. But I think you can make an argument for any of those three, but I think for sure it's DeBrusk, Pettersson, and Hronek are going to be the most controversial players in the Canucks next season.
Yeah. So much assumption. And bro, that was dark, man. I need to go for a walk and breathe and just relax because, bro, it's the summer and we're just talking about controversy, man. Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks. Hey, if you're with us right now on the YouTube side, again, Christmas is around the corner. It would help us out a lot if you hit the like button on this video and, help us move things, man. I'm really excited to see what happens next season, not only with the team, but with this community here. And we're just really grateful for all the help and all the support and all the love, man. Let's get to the comments before we get out of here. I'm going to click a couple. Maybe Trevor has a couple queued up too. Look at this comment from James Moore, the best dressed guy on YouTube. Why can't you dress like this guy, Trevor? Aren't you a financial advisor? Or are you only taking investments from people who are creating vape companies or what? Come on, man. Look at this guy right here. James Moore, the suit and tie, saying, I love you guys. Thanks for keeping up on this Canucks grind in the dead of summer, man. Hey, it is what it is, man. And bro, it's like right around the corner. It's August 9th. Next week will be August 31st or August 30th or whatever. I don't even know how many days are in August, but training camp is just there. It really is unreal. Look at this question from Bob Luger. Okay. Forget the cap and acquisition costs. What complimentary forward would you like to have on the Canucks for next year? He has a lot of options here. He's talking about Boone Jenner. He's talking about Lawson Krause, my bad. He's also talking about, no, that was disrespectful, JR. He's saying Rempe. Rempe, dude.
I was thinking Matt Rempe.
Dude,
that was the funniest answer.
But how about this answer right here? How about Sam Bennett? Okay, for real. Now, Sam Bennett, I believe, is a UFA next season. Again, the Florida Panthers just won a cup. Even if they don't have this guy signed, I feel as if they're going to take him all the way to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to deal this guy at the trade deadline. They're going to go after it again. But, man, oh, man, could you imagine 12 months from now, 13 months from now, the Rick Tocchet had himself a Sam Bennett?
Yeah, that would be quite the acquisition.
Didn't Sam Bennett start his career with the Canucks? I mean, against the Canucks? I feel like he started his career in Vancouver just smoking us as an 18-year-old kid. Yeah,
it was 18-year-old Sam Bennett against the Canucks in the 2015 playoffs, man. What a time to be alive.
18-year-old Sam Bennett, dude.
Oh, man. I mean, look, in terms of complimentary forward, I think it's like a player in the Sam Bennett mold. I think, if you're going to have a complimentary player to this team, you want someone who's fast, who's physical, who can score, who can do the whole shebang. I mean, I don't want to give the Oilers any love, so I was going to say Zach Hyman, but I'm not going to do it because, F the Oilers.
Good way to end it. I like your segue, man. F the Oilers. Just end on that note, okay? Zach Hyman. He's probably the most popular person in Edmonton right now, but man, oh man, they just released footage of what happened after Game 7 against the Florida Panthers in that dressing room, and it's such a sad, such a beautiful scene. Such a beautiful scene, okay? They're in the room. They're quiet. Their heads are down. They're sweating. They're beaten up. They're hurt. They're disgusted. This is the worst moment of their hockey lives. It's so quiet, okay? It's so quiet that in the background, you can hear Gary Bettman announcing that Connor McDavid just won the Conn Smythe for breaking all these records, right? Again, during the cameras in the dressing room, every single player's in there, including McDavid, and in the background, that's what you hear. You obviously know they heard it too. And it looked miserable. It looked miserable. And I was just, bro, like, phub.com was not used last night. That clip was used last night. On that note, though, Zach Hyman, he speaks up when it's all quiet, saying things like, I know this is the worst moment of our lives and blah, 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 but we'll be back. And I hope everyone stays, And it was beautiful to the Oilers fans. And I'm sure they want to build this guy a statue, but you guys aren't coming back. You guys aren't getting back to the Stanley Cup Finals. And it could be a Vancouver thing, but I feel as if it's just a karma thing too. Something is it's the end of the road for that type of decision making when it comes to the personnel on your team. And I just feel as if something's going to explode there, especially if they don't sign Leon before the season starts. I could see it, and I kind of want it to happen.
Yeah, never mind Canuck controversies. Let's focus on the controversies in Edmonton. Bring the Edmonton Oilers down, baby. Let's go. Let's get the last comment to Bob Bluger here. Locked On Canucks viewing party this season. Hey, let's do a viewing party when the Oilers and Canucks are rematched in the playoffs in 2025. So I predict that that's going to happen. Let's go, baby. Until then, we're going to have you covered here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day, part-time, maybe in August, but sometimes you also get episodes 5 days a week because me and Kyle are addicted to this thing called Your Vancouver Canucks, or should I say our Vancouver Canucks?
No, don't say that, man. Don't say that, man. Come on, man. Don't change, man. Don't change. It's your Vancouver Canucks. It's your Vancouver Canucks. It's your Vancouver Canucks, man. That's just what it is. Whoever left that comment, man, you got to breathe some air, man. You got to read some Deepak Chopra, man. Bro, if you hate the show, you don't got to make ish up. Just say we suck ass. You don't got to cancel Trevor for saying your instead of our. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Just say we suck ass. Say it together, Trevor. We suck ass. What? Sign us out, buddy. Hit the like button, subscribe. Boom, bam. Peace out.
Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners, the first-time listeners, the new subscribers, and those of you who joined us on the live show on YouTube. We love each and every one of you, your families, and your dogs, too. I'm on vacation next week for a few days, but Kyle and maybe me will have you covered with everything regarding your Vancouver Canucks. I got some ideas. I got some lists brewing away, baby. But for what we're going to talk about, stay tuned to the feed. Like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. For now, we got to get out of here. Have a great weekend. I'm Trevor Beggs, and that guy's Kyle Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.